Hello. You are listening to the Carroll Connection with your host, Jared Carroll.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carroll Connection. I am your host, Jared Carroll, here to bring you guys another great episode. I want to shout out last week's episode 107, with Marina Edmond. And on that episode, we talked about how she is a kindergarten teacher, as well as a blogger and small business owner. And it was a really great podcast. We talked about a lot of great stuff. Check out her blog as well. Everything is tagged in my Instagram or on Facebook as well. I tag her on Facebook if you guys use Facebook. You can tune into that episode at thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. So, that brings us to today, episode 108. And I wasn't going to do an episode this week. I was actually planning on doing a bye week. And if you guys listened to last week or have me on social media, you'll know that unfortunately we as a family had to put down our dog Jenna, who's a Shih Tzu of 14 years. And it was a lot to take in. We knew it was coming towards the end, and I didn't realize it was going to be Friday. We were kind of waiting on the vet. Me and my brother's kind of waiting on our parents to kind of make the final decision what they wanted to do. Things started to take a turn. She was slipping in control, kind of. She had some mini seizures that were kind of happening where she would just kind of blink and like kind of nod, and there was some other stuff, and it was tough to watch. It's tough to watch your family dog grow old. And that's why I'm going into this episode. This is for all my dog lovers, and specifically this is for my baby girl, Jenna. Titled A Dog's Love. And on this episode, I'm going to kind of talk about Jenna, and I'm going to kind of talk about what she meant to me and the value of having a dog. And what I have next to me is this statue that we have in our garden that we got, I'd say a while ago, for Jenna. It looks pretty similar, I'm not going to lie, with the colors and stuff. And I have her blanket right here, and the dog sitting on the blanket. So she's with me as I'm doing this podcast. I wanted her here kind of in spirit. So I decided to kind of put this together and kind of be vulnerable with you guys. And it's been a lot to take in. I've been kind of prepping for this episode since it happened, realizing that I had an open slot this week that I wasn't going to record, but I felt like I had to. I wanted to be vulnerable. I wanted to open up to people who listen to me, maybe someone who has lost a pet can relate to the things that I'm going to talk about in this podcast. And I think that's what I hope for. A dog's love is so unconditional. It's one of the purest things in the world, honestly. You could have the worst day. You could be a pretty mean person sometimes, and your dog still loves you. And that is so beautiful. And not too many times in life do you ever feel unconditional love. I think there's a few exceptions, like sometimes your family, and because I don't even think romantic partners are unconditional, and your friends are not unconditional. There's usually a condition in which you are loved and appreciated by those people, and even family to an extent. So I mean, I guess it's not fully unconditional. Maybe there's not a fully unconditional type of love out there, but I'd say a dog's love is the closest thing that you can get to unconditional love. They're there on your good days. They're there on your bad days. I couldn't tell you how many times where I felt so undeserving of love. And my dog, she was there for me every single time, giving me kisses, cuddling with me, making me feel like I'm not alone in this world. And obviously we have family. We have people who are in our corner. We have people who are supporting us. But to experience such an unconditional type of love, I think is super valuable. And I didn't know until I had a dog. Most of my life, I was 12 years old when we got Jenna. And I was kind of at the age where I'm aware. I'm closer to my teenage years. I'm growing through stuff. It's like last year of childhood, technically, I guess you could say. And to go through pretty much most of the stages of my life with her, just makes this loss extremely difficult. And it's hard to kind of grasp my head around the fact that she's not gone. Well, she is gone. See, I mean, I'm even stumbling on my words because I think that she's still here, and it's so difficult to wrap my mind around it. Literally, this entire week, the house has felt so empty without our dog, and it's been tough. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I'd say the last couple months, being completely honest and vulnerable, I've been sliding into kind of like a depressive episode almost, where I feel stagnant. I'm struggling to feel motivated in aspects, but I would continue to do what I do because I see the vision that I have and I know the goals that I'm trying to achieve and I have a plan. So I've been trying to stick to my plan. I've been seeing less people, and I apologize for the people who haven't been seeing me, who want to see me, and I want to see you as well. But there's just stuff that I have to manage on my own. And it's my mental health, it's my problem, and I have to deal with it and have to be accountable for that. And for me to be at my best self, I know this period of my life, I have to just be introspective and I have to kind of show up for myself. And the way I do it is, maybe some people don't like this, but I pull back. I kind of stay to myself. I stay to what I'm looking for. And I honestly, there was so many times where I would just not do things because I wanted to spend time with my dog because I knew she didn't have long. Like the week leading up, you could tell as she was getting older, she just liked to be outside. And in the front of our yard, we'd open the door and she'd just lay in the grass. And especially the week leading up to it and the days leading up to it, I would literally just go kind of like run around in the grass, just get some cardio and just literally lay next to my dog, telling her how much I loved her. I wanted her to know how much I actually cared about her. And I think she knew. Dogs are weirdly aware. It's like they're people. It really is. It's unique. And I never really understood the concept, and I posted about this. I never really understood the concept when people would say, I wish dogs lived forever. I'm like, yeah, I agree to that. I think that's like obvious almost. But then when I was in the room with the vet, going through that process with my dad and one of my brothers, I felt it. I wish she could live forever. I wanted her to stay alive forever. I didn't want to say goodbye. One of the hardest things I've ever had to experience, and I've experienced a lot of death, whether it's family or friends, was watching my dog of 14 years be put down. A piece of my childhood was gone. And it's so hard to grasp because life is just different. Things feel different. And there's obviously a lot of emotions tied there, but it's like a chapter closing. And I accept that. It's part of life. Things change. Death happens. It's a normal occurrence. But grief is so hard to grasp. I literally lost a family member. And I think that's why dogs' love is so special. Like, I was talking to my parents, like back in the day, like their dogs were just pets. Like my dog, Jenna, she was our family. She was there for everything. Graduations, birthday parties, like everything. We brought her everywhere. We were like, even when we go to my aunts, we bring her to the pool. Like, she was family. And I used to hate when they'd say, that's your sister. And now that she's gone, I feel like I lost my baby sister. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, that's how I feel. And it sucks because, like, any dog that I get after this, the love is going to be different. Obviously, because I would assume the next dog that I get, it's going to be mine. So I'm taking on a different type of role with the dog. Or if my parents get a dog, I'm not going to be around. Like I'm 26 going on 27. I am looking towards getting my own home and progressing in life. So I'm not going to live with that dog. It's not going to be the same. I grew up with Jenna. And that's why it's hitting me so hard is like, it's a certain type of love that I won't be able to experience again, but I'm so glad that I was able to experience it. I'm so lucky that I had such an amazing dog. And she wasn't the loudest dog. She was very, very quiet, very, very good. Didn't really bark or anything like that. But the day that we put her down and the ones following, my house has never felt so quiet. And that's when it hits you when you're alone in the house and you don't hear her pitter patter of her paws down the hallway. You realize she's gone. And it's so difficult to truly understand if you haven't gone through it. And I didn't understand. I was like, sorry for your loss. Like, you don't think about it until like it happens. And being in the room, I was a waterworks, like crying like crazy. And throughout this week, I've cried multiple times throughout this week, and it just comes. And I think that's something with the grieving process. And with that grieving process, one of the interesting things about grieving is the common thing people will say, and some people just don't know how to console people, is they say, this will pass. This shall pass. And it's optimistic. It's right. I mean, it's gonna pass. It's eventually gonna be good. Like, things do get better. But when you're grieving and you're depressed and you're sad, I don't want to hear that. No one wants to hear that. It doesn't help me. And I think a lot of people relate to that. Like, that saying just doesn't resonate. Like, it's like saying it's raining right now, but the rain will stop. But it doesn't change the fact that it's still raining. I'm still wet. I'm still sad. I'm depressed. It's still happening. Like, I almost feel like the this shall pass idea is like kind of some sort of suppression for a lot of people. Obviously, it can be used as a optimistic way to stay positive, which I think helps a lot of people. But I am someone, I mean, my motto is feel your feelings. So I don't think you should run from feelings. I mean, that's my personal opinion. And I've learned coping mechanisms to be able to stand up and embrace those emotions. And like I've said on multiple podcasts, after you feel those feelings, you do have to let them go. So, like, that saying does hold weight. But I think it's just more effective just to say sorry for your loss and keep it moving. I think that's my personal opinion. Obviously, everyone grieves differently. So, like, the way that they're going to console you is different. And I think people need to realize that too, and like not get so upset with other people. I'm just giving my personal anecdote on how I feel about the whole grieving process and the way people react to it. Because everyone reacts differently. Some people don't show emotions, some people do show emotions. And one of the craziest things that I experienced in that room was just seeing my dog. I think she knew. Leading up to it, I think she knew what was happening and what was going to happen. And dogs are so unconditional. Like, a dog's love is so unconditional, where we were in the room and she was about to be put down. She sees me crying, came over to me and licked me on my nose. And in that moment, I kind of lost it. Like, knowing that she's probably aware that what's going to happen, she's still loving me at my worst. And there's nothing like that. Like, you can't really experience that with too many relationships in your life. And that's what makes me so like choked up about it, because I'm going to miss her for the rest of my life. I love my dog. She'll always be a part of my family. She'll always be a part of me personally. And that's why I wanted to do this episode, was to embrace a dog's love. Because it's one of the most beautiful things in this world that we can experience as humans. Most pets too as well. I like to include that. But a dog's love is so unique. They're so loyal. They do things for you, even when like you're not the nicest to them. And that's crazy to me, because obviously when you're mean to people, sometimes they're just mean back or they don't mess with you anymore. And like, that's acceptable. But a dog, if it's your dog, they love you. They always love you. And part of me gets excited thinking about the fact of, obviously, whatever you believe, but I do believe there is another place that we go after we pass. And I get excited knowing that when I get there, she'll be there with my family as well. And that brings me some peace, that she's no longer suffering. She's in a better place. And I think you move on from that. And it's normal to feel what I'm feeling. And it's one of those things you just got to deal with. I hate to say it like that, but it's the truth. You have to accept all the emotions that come with it, because it's been on and off for me throughout this week. Like whether I'm working out, whether I see the blanket, whether I don't hear her walking down the hallway, I don't hear the jingling of her chain, the water bowls, the food bowl, her leash, the empty beds. You feel it. And it's normal to feel that. And that's why I wanted to include the statue in her blanket, because it feels like a piece of her's here. And I don't even know what to say with that. It just makes me a little emotional. I can't even lie. And I think it was important for me to come on the podcast and kind of just talk about how I feel, talk about the things that we experienced together and just growing up. Because I've been just running back in my mind all the memories during the Snapchat, the photos, the videos, like everything. Like there's just so much life there that was lived. And she was able to live 14 years. 14, from 12 to 26 for me. That's amazing. Like, I'm so lucky to have had such an amazing dog be a part of our family. And missing her, it's like a piece of us is missing. Like, she was the heart and soul. She really was. She was the life of the family. Like, the first I would say hi to you, the last we'd say bye to. I literally always, every time I walk upstairs, like whether it's to fill up my water during work or something like that, I'd go and pet her. And one of the hardest things is like during the week is like realizing that she's not there. And like going upstairs has been difficult. I remember the first day after we put her down that no one was in the house. I woke up, no one was home. And I went to go take a shower, and I instinctively, out of habit, looked at her bed in like the living room, and just seeing it empty broke my heart, and I started bawling my eyes out. I probably cried for like 2 hours in the house by myself after my shower. Like, seeing her empty bed and knowing that she was just there yesterday and she's never going to be there again, like, destroyed me. I'll be honest, it just destroyed me. And I wish I could see her one more time. I wish we could go on a walk one more time. I wish I could hear her, the jingles of her chain, the panting, like after a walk, getting excited. I literally used to work out, and well, I still work out, obviously, but when I would work out, I would go upstairs, and she was so smart. She would literally, every time she would see me in my workout stuff, whether it was the winter or the summer, she knew I would go for a run after I worked out. And then she knew after every workout, for the most part, I'd usually take her for a walk. So as soon as she saw me, she got super excited, and we'd go for a walk. And I'm going to miss that. I'm really going to miss that. I wish that we could do it more, but so is life. Am I right? And that's like one of the difficult things to grasp about having a pet is it's not forever. Unfortunately, they don't have the lifespan that we do. And I'd do everything in my power if I could to bring her back, to give her one more month, one more week. I wish I had more with her. But I think we feel that about a lot of things, is that we wish we could have experienced it one more time, one more day, one more hour. And I think that's normal. I think that's part of grieving, is to kind of like go through that, like, I wish I had one more. And I think that's okay. And I'm struggling. I'll probably be struggling for a while. My dog was part of my family. She was not a pet. She was part of my family. And I think a lot of people feel that way about their dogs. And I think a lot of people are going to relate to this episode and the way that I talk about my dog, because they feel the same way too. When you've had a dog for so long and then not have one, it just doesn't feel the same. As they say, life just doesn't hit the same. It hits different. And I'm feeling that, the repercussions of that today. And I'll feel it probably for a few more weeks, maybe months. And I know I'll get over it. We all do. We get over things. We never forget, though. And that's one thing that's interesting about humans. And I think that's one thing that's really beautiful about grief, is that you experience things so deeply. And maybe it's just me, but I appreciate grief because it reminds me how much I can love. And that's beautiful to me. And being in the room, consoling my dog when she was about to be put down, I've been saying it was painfully beautiful. It hurt me so much to watch the life go. But she knows that she was so loved. We made sure of it. We were all crying, hugging her, making sure we were in the room. Even the vet was crying. The vet had been with her most of her life. And it was difficult. But I wouldn't change it. Because some people don't like for that to be the last image of their dog, but I think you should be in that room with your dog. Somebody should be in that room from your family with that dog, because you don't want them to die with strangers. You don't. That's not cool. And I'll be honest, I'll say it for the record, I'm going to be speaking my mind more and more. If you're not in that room when you put your dog down, or someone in your family is not in that room and that dog is just by themselves with the vet, you don't deserve to have a fucking dog. I swear on that. I think it's fucking coward. I think you're scared as fuck, and it's weak. It's fucking weak. If someone in your family if someone in your family doesn't go with the dog in that room with that vet, you don't deserve to have a fucking dog. You can quote me on that. I don't care. Like, it's selfish as fuck to not be in that room, because if we were not there, I guarantee my dog would have been scared. She would have felt like we abandoned her. And that's the last thing you ever want your pet to experience, especially after all the love that they give you. And I think that's a good way to kind of wrap up this podcast, to leave it with that message. Like, for anyone that has a dog that's still alive, that's a young puppy or anything like that, appreciate every single day that you have with them. Take pictures, take videos, because you really never know when their last day is. They don't live as long as we do, obviously. Take pictures. Enjoy the moment. Appreciate them. Because that love is special. And it's kind of once in a lifetime, depending on the animal. Every animal's personality is different. So you got to appreciate them. They're unique. They're special. And that's what makes dogs so awesome. Because they're kind of like us. And they deserve the love that we give them. Or they give us. It's a funny way. But I think that's enough of me being vulnerable and ranting about my amazing dog, Jenna. I will miss you so much. I wish we had more time together. But I know you're at peace, and that makes me feel a little bit better each and every day. Until we meet again, Jenna. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast. I'm surprised I didn't cry. I choked up a little bit. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. But I have so many great episodes for you guys. I'm trying to plan my future and plan new episodes. So I'm trying to bring new guests. I'll try to bring back old guests as well. I always encourage, to listen to my old episodes. I have so many amazing guests with so many amazing stories, so many great conversations. You guys, please check them out. I'm on YouTube now, so I post the video to these episodes now, so you could watch the Carroll Connection on YouTube. You could also tune in at thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. But until next time, guys, peace.